Alright, what's going on, guys? Trev back again, here to bring you another video. This one's going to be doing a character spotlight video. Want to give my thoughts now that things are over with regards to Lizzie. Alright, so this one, of course, will contain spoilers for anyone who has not seen up to current date in the Walking Dead television series, which would be Season 4, Episode 14, The Grove. So that said, wanted to kind of give my final thoughts on Lizzie. I have done one of these before, talking about what was wrong with Lizzie, but we saw a lot of stuff in The Grove, and it kind of has changed for me a lot of things, a lot of the ways that I see Lizzie. I mean, before that, of course, we kind of knew she was crazy, to an extent, but it just was so much shown even more than that in The Grove. We've seen her in the past, and they showed this sort of in the intro, possibly trying to strangle baby Judy. Also, the rats thing, feeding the rats to walkers, dissecting rats, getting in arguments with people over walkers, including, I believe it was Carl, and of course also her sister talking about her being messed up. She likes to play with walkers, apparently. We've seen that a couple times, playing tag and also leading walkers away from Glenn when he was sick. There's also the part where she puts her foot at the prison and she kind of turns it around in the blood to kind of just sort of play with it, that type of thing. So wanted to sort of do a character spotlight and just give my thoughts on her as a whole, now that her time in the series has come to an end. Of course, her and her sister Mika are now dead. So that said, my thoughts on Lizzie are basically, I found her to be a very interesting and freaky character, especially right up to the end. I mean, up until then, let's see, she killed, though we've seen she killed at least 3 people. She killed, and she mentions this, she saved Tyreese by killing the guy and I believe her name was Alicia, Tara's girlfriend, who's attacking him. She shoots them both dead. And then, of course, to make matters even worse, she kills her sister. Well, I guess that was a good thing she did, because she did save Tyreese and she did defend the group, which kind of showed how tough she is. She's supposed to be about 12 to 14 years old, according to the wiki, and we don't know much about her past, life and time in the zombie apocalypse up until we meet her at the prison, of course. I think we're to assume that she joined the prison group from Woodbury, I believe, even though she was never shown there. It was never stated that she sort of joined up otherwise, I believe. So I think we're to assume she came in with Woodbury, or maybe just another group that found them at the prison during the time skip that we didn't see. We don't know what happened with her mother, and I think that's key to what sort of drives her later on, and we get to see some of that behavior in the Grove. I believe, now her father, we know he died. Carol put him down, he was bitten, and she became sort of their guardian after that. But beforehand, that was a couple years into the zombie apocalypse, like at the prison that time. We don't know what happened to her up until then. If she was a part of Woodbury, when did she join Woodbury? If she just met, the people at the prison and just joined there, when did that occur? We don't know. But I think it's probably safe to say that her mother probably was killed and became a walker, and that probably at her age that she's at sort of is what caused this kind of misunderstanding of what they are. Maybe she had to spend some time with her mother or something alone, or before her mother was killed as a walker. Maybe her father had explained that to her, that he was leaving the mother alive, this kind of thing, even though she was dead as a walker, because he didn't exactly know what to do with it, because the outbreak was just starting. Now, for a child in that kind of a world, now this is all me thinking to what could cause her to become the way she is later on, I would think that seeing your mother like that, being at that age where you're so impressionable, just the beginning of, becoming a young teenager, like you're 10, 11, 12, this type of thing, you're still kind of learning, how the world is, the way the world is. And characters like Carl, it can be helpful for him, because he didn't really grow up that much in the world beforehand, so he adapts really well to the world, and he's able to change and become even more colder, which he has to be in order to survive. So for him, it was beneficial. I think it was interesting to see a character that went the other way. A character like Lizzie, that rather than adapting to the world in that kind of a way and accepting it and just going with it, Lizzie was, around, a couple years younger than him, let's say 3-4 years younger, that type of thing. And, but close enough. And she went the other way. So it confused her to the point of just craziness, where she couldn't understand this concept that they were dead, but they were still moving, they were still walking around. Maybe her father told her something about that. Like if her father, let's say the mother was bitten, because the mother's not there, so obviously she died at some point. Probably became a walker, I would say. And maybe the father kept her around for a while. We've seen this before with lots of different characters, like Morgan, for example, who could not put his wife down until she eventually killed his son, right? So I think maybe her father, I believe his name was Ryan. It's Ryan. Must have done the same thing, but probably told Lizzie that she's still alive or something like this, but she's and her kind of absorbing that concretely in her mind, refusing to believe, not that she's not intelligent, but just afterwards not accepting or not wanting to believe that her mother's dead. Maybe they let her mother go or something, and she's out there somewhere, walking around or something. So, that makes sense that it would lead her to kind of become like this, to be this sort of messed up, where she refuses to accept. Not that she can't. She refuses to, because it would crush her worldview of what her father did, and would just be too much for her to handle. So she just can't take it. Versus Mika, who would have been younger at the time, so the father probably didn't, say a whole lot to her. Maybe was able to shield her from what was happening to the mother. That's sort of my interpretation, because the thing is that your parents, especially at a younger age like that, they're the ones that teach you how the world is. You emulate who your parents are at that point. When your parents teach you things or they tell you things, it's not like just a teacher at your school telling you something. It's even more impactful, because you learn from them, how the world is supposed to be and how you're supposed to behave. So if your parents are murderers or whatever, it's not going to have a positive effect on you at that age. Now, hopefully, people as they're growing up in development can overcome that. But some can't. They fall right back in the same traps as their parents, or depending on what they see in the world, they can be really messed up, especially during things like this. So, I did think she was an interesting character. She definitely was freaky at the end. She definitely was scary in what happened at the end with Mika in the Grove. And, it would have been interesting to see if they would have kept them around for a little while longer, if they would have had her kill somebody, or, another person die or something of the sort, if they were to join a bigger group. But that's something that, if Terminus is a trap, which it looks like it is, we're not going to be seeing a lot of other characters be added on that would be good bait for that, aside from her sister. Like, what is she going to do? Try to kill Carl or something? I don't think that's going to work out too well, I'm just saying. I would have liked to have seen something like that, like maybe Carl, and her kind of go at it, or, something of the sort like that would have been kind of cool. But it definitely was scary. It added a lot to season 4, I think, to see that whole resolution in the Grove. And, she was a really, really interesting character. And you got to feel sorry for Mika, who's really just that kind of like, sweet, innocent, just like Sophia. I like all the parallels they draw in the episode to Sophia and what happens with Lizzie. So a character that wasn't fleshed out all that much. Lizzie, we don't know that much about her background. I've filled in some things in my imagination and what I think could cause somebody to, it's like a conveyor belt. You see the end product, you can kind of guess what, created it, right? If she grew up in the regular world, she probably would be just fine. She probably might be a little slow or something, but I don't think she'd be like she is now, just this crazy man, especially when she's trying to like argue with Carol and trying to show her with an example. What she did with Mika. Thank God, they get back in time and they didn't allow her to be around the baby any longer. Man, just brutal stuff. Let me know what you guys thought about Lizzie in the TV series. I enjoyed seeing a character like that, and I think it's necessary for us to see other characters transform like that. Sort of the opposite of Carl, who, became colder, but also, level-headed and a better survivor, to the opposite, where it just confused that kid to no extent, and they couldn't handle the world. They were not, I mean, it's hard enough for Carol and these other characters to handle the world, but a kid like that in a zombie apocalypse, they just can't take it, can't handle it, and just go berserk and kill their sister with a knife. Oh, man. Oh, I didn't destroy the brain, she'll come back. Oh, man, or something like that she says. So brutal. Anyway, let me know what you guys think. I don't think she'll be missed. Anyway, I'll call it here. That's it for this video, guys. I'll see you for the next one. This is Trent saying peace.